high above the rolling hills of Tunisia. As dawn struggled to break through the dust-filled sky, a German tank crew prepared for a day none of them knew would echo through history. The ground trembled under their feet as distant engines growled across the rugged desert floor. War had already carved deep scars into this land, but the real shock was yet to come. What happened next would give birth to one of the most legendary tank encounters of the Second World War. An encounter defined not by overwhelming strength or superior numbers, but by the stubborn defiance of a single machine. Tiger 131. In the spring of 1943, North Africa was reaching a boiling point. German and Allied forces were locked in a brutal, unforgiving contest for control of the high ridges and valleys around the Tunisian town of Djebel Djaffa. The outcome of the entire African campaign depended on these hills, and every unit knew what was at stake. Amid the chaos stood a lone Tiger tank, freshly brought into the theater of war. For most Allied crews, it was a rumor, a ghost, a metallic beast spoken of in half-whispered warnings. Few had seen one up close. Even fewer had survived to describe it. But on that fateful day, Tiger 131 would not just be seen, it would be confronted. As the early morning haze settled over the battlefield, British tanks from the 2nd Battalion of the Sherwood Foresters pushed forward, supported by Churchill Mark IV tanks. These crews, veterans of many desert engagements, were used to trading fire with German Panzer IIIs and IVs. They were not prepared for what was waiting on the ridge ahead. Tiger 131 sat concealed behind a cluster of rocks, its long 88 Mauser gun searching the horizon. The crew inside felt confident, almost comfortable. They knew their tank was superior to anything the Allies could field. The thick armor, the devastating firepower, the intimidation factor. It all combined into a weapon meant to dominate open ground. The British tanks advanced steadily, unaware that their fate was being decided at that very moment. The desert seemed calm, but the calm was deceptive. Suddenly, the stillness shattered. A flash, a thunderous crack, and a shell tore through the air. A Churchill tank erupted in smoke and flame, its crew scrambling to escape. Before the shock could settle, another shot rang out. A second tank was crippled in minutes. Panic rippled through the Allied formation. The shots were too accurate, too powerful. Whatever was firing at them wasn't a Panzer IV. This was something else entirely, something deadlier. As the British regrouped, the Tiger reloaded and fired again. Another direct hit, and another. The Allied advance halted under the devastating precision of a tank they had never seen before. For a brief moment, it felt as though one German vehicle was enough to stop an entire battalion in its tracks. Inside Tiger 131, the crew worked with machine-like precision. The loader slammed heavy shells into the breach. The gunner scanned for targets through a sophisticated optic unmatched by any Allied tank. The commander called out ranges with sharp authority. They were a well-oiled team inside a monster of steel, yet, unknown to them, fate was already beginning to shift. As the Tiger continued firing, a British Churchill crew made a daring decision. Instead of retreating, they maneuvered around the ridge to flank the German tank. It was a suicidal move. The Churchill was slow and heavily armored, but its gun was hopelessly outclassed by the Tigers. Even so, the British crew pressed forward. They knew that if someone didn't take the risk, the entire advance would collapse. The Tiger's crew spotted them and prepared to fire, but just as the gunner locked onto the Churchill, something went wrong. A sudden jolt shook the tank. A loud metallic screech echoed through the turret. The Tiger's gun jammed. For the first time that morning, the German crew felt uncertainty. A jammed gun in open battle was a death sentence. The commander ordered the driver to reposition, but before the Tiger could move, A British shell slammed into the tank's turret ring. It wasn't enough to destroy the vehicle, but it was enough to cripple its rotation. In that moment, the unstoppable predator became trapped prey. The damaged Churchill fired again. This time, the shell struck the Tiger's lower turret. Another blow followed. Although the Churchill's rounds couldn't penetrate the Tiger's thick armor, they caused shock, splintering, and mechanical damage inside the tank. One fragment injured the Tiger's gunner. The crew was disoriented, shouting over the roar of impacts and grinding metal. The Tiger was now blind, wounded, and unable to maneuver its turret. The British saw their chance. More tanks approached from different angles. The Tiger's crew desperately tried to free the jammed gun, but it was too late. A Churchill tank finally managed to strike the Tiger on the gun barrel itself, bending and damaging it beyond immediate repair. The Tiger could no longer fire. Inside the tank, smoke filled the compartment. The commander realized the vehicle was finished. He ordered the crew to abandon it. They opened the hatch and scrambled out, leaving behind what had been one of the most feared machines on the battlefield. But here's where the story takes an incredible turn. The British did not destroy Tiger 131. Instead, they captured it almost perfectly intact. For the first time in the war, the Allies had a Tiger tank that wasn't blown apart, burned out, or reduced to scrap. This was pure gold. They could finally study the armor, inspect the gun, examine the engine, and understand the engineering secrets that made the Tiger so powerful. The capture of Tiger 131 changed the war's tank strategy in ways the German crew never could have imagined. Allied engineers learned how to exploit its weaknesses, recalibrate their tactics, and develop countermeasures that would later prove invaluable. Tiger 131 was transported, repaired, and tested. Soldiers climbed inside and marveled at its construction. Mechanics dismantled it piece by piece, uncovering design features that had made it such a menace. Every detail mattered, every measurement, every bolt and weld. The Allies had gained an advantage not through overwhelming force, but through the daring decision of a handful of soldiers who refused to retreat. Even after the war, Tiger 131 continued to make history. It became a living relic, restored to full working order, the only operational Tiger tank left in the world today. Its engine still roars, its tracks still rumble across museum grounds, and thousands come to witness the machine that once shook the earth of Tunisia. But the real legend of Tiger 131 isn't about its firepower or its engineering. It's the story of how one tank, standing alone atop a ridge, faced an entire force and nearly stopped them by itself. It's the story of how bravery on both sides shaped one of the most iconic tank encounters of the Second World War. It's the story of how even the most powerful machines can falter, and how courage in desperate moments can change the course of history. To this day, Tiger 131 is more than a tank. It is a symbol of technological ambition, of battlefield dominance, of sudden downfall, and of the unpredictable nature of war. Viewers and historians return to its story again and again because it captures everything that makes WWII so compelling. Danger, innovation, courage, mystery, and the thin line between victory and defeat. When Tiger 131 rolled onto that Tunisian ridge, it carried the confidence of the German war machine. By the time it was abandoned, it had unknowingly handed the Allies a priceless gift. And long after the desert dust settled, its legend only grew louder. Some machines are forgotten by time, but not Tiger 131. Its roar may have faded from the battlefield, but its story will echo forever.